Hey everybody, welcome back inside another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is December 9th, 2019, and primarily we have a domestic kit news and releases this week as we clean up the end of November's round 2 releases. And then we have a few straggling things overseas to cover as well, but overall it's that middle of the month show where things are relatively quiet all the way around. So first up we have the last of the kits for Salvinos JR for the 2019 modeling season, as it were. This kit is another reissue of one of their Monte Carlo kits. It is the Car Care 1974 Monte Carlo. This is a Junior Johnson Racing Cale Yarborough combination again. I don't know if the decals are necessarily being redrawn per se for this kit, or if this is just going to be a set of power slides thrown into the box. Obviously, the guy Mike, who does power slides decals, does Salvino's decals too. I just know that the Car Care decals already exist for this kit as an aftermarket piece. So I think this might just be sort of a combination of some decals in a box here rather than being like a whole new decal set that's been drawn up per se. Might just be take the file, edit in the Salvino's name and the box art and the box kit number and stuff like that, and then just reprint the decals. But the sort of significant thing about this, rather than just being another Monte Carlo kit, is that Salvino's JR has said that that will be the last of the Monte Carlo and Oldsmobile 442 kits to be released until possibly 2021, or at least very late next year. They are going to spend 2020 focusing on releasing a few more things as they relate to the monogram tooling that they bought after the bankruptcy, namely the Pontiac 2+2 body for the Pontiac Grand Prix monogram kit, as well as a flat nose conversion for the Monte Carlo monogram kit to turn it into a 1981 Monte Carlo. Then they have their own new tooling coming out in terms of Dodge Chargers, which should focus on the 1971 and 1973 Dodge Chargers. They also are looking at possibly getting their Pontiac Le Mans done, which will be a body that fits the monogram NASCAR tooling, as well as a all-new tool NASCAR Asphalt Modified. Both those two things are sort of like goals for 2020 more than they are realities. So we'll see whether or not those come to fruition or not. The two Dodge Chargers and the two sort of conversions for the monogram kits are four projects that we should expect to see at some point during the 2020 year. No time frame has been given on any of those. I wouldn't necessarily make a triumphant run at your local hobby shop to get these kits if you don't already have them in terms of the Monte Carlo and the Cutlass. But keep in mind that certain places will sell out of them, and eBay pricing may come into effect at some circumstances if you don't have an actual local hobby shop that you can pick these up. I mean, I'm pretty sure that my local hobby shop right now has a glut of all of the kits. I know from talking to various people, Scott being one of them, that they stopped ordering in a fixed amount and are now only doing them like sort of on demand because there are so many of them so fast. And that's another reason why you're probably not going to see them come out for another year after this one is released. Probably this one's probably going to be released in January. The announcement was just this morning, and unless the decals are already printed and the models are already run and everything before they announce it, there's probably not too good a chance this will get out before the end of the year, especially with all the craziness of holiday shipping and whatnot. But expect it after the first of the year. But there are so many Monte Carlos and so many Cutlasses. There have to be close to 5 of each at this point that they've effectively flooded their own market. There's only so many of these you could sell. There's only so many of them you could build at any one given time if you're, unless you're building one a weekend and just sort of throwing them together kind of thing. So this will give a little space between the releases, let them sort of peter out and become, not necessarily hard to find, but a little less ubiquitous everywhere, and then we'll probably see some more of them. But they have like I said, they have their own projects. It's not like they're going away for 2020. Some people, may argue about whether or not they care one way or the other, but be all of that as it may, that is what we should have to look forward to out of them for the next 12 months or so. So let's talk about round 2 releases. We have, let's see, 2, 4, 5 of them for this video. 2 of these kits are going to be December releases. The rest of them are cleaning up at the end of November. So starting on the November stuff. First up, you have the release of this, which is the 25 Ford Model T Chopped, as they were calling it. This does include both kits. This sort of just is a box art that's featuring the chopped T rather than it being anything that was different. After talking to a few people and looking at a few things, it seems like this was always in the kit as part of the optional parts that were included in the last couple of releases. It's just, sort of featuring it on the box art rather than some of the other stuff. But otherwise, you got the pad printed drag slicks. There's optional window glass in this. You do, like I said, get the 2 complete kits. So you get the hot rod and the factory stock Model T. So that's just out for another spin around the block, as it were. And then we go over to some vintage drag racing stuff. You have this, the Funny Fueler Digger. This is going to have, for the first time, 3 different color glass. Clear, tinted blue, and tinted orange. And then it's also got pad printed drag slicks, so at least you have a little extra detail there. This is the whole Plymouth Barracuda dragster thing that's going on here is just evidence of how good the drugs really were back then. I mean, there's no other way around it. But it basically is just your front engine dragster chassis underneath of a very weird looking CUDA funny car body. So it's not really a funny car. It's not really a dragster. I'm not sure what this qualifies as other than somebody's wild imagination. But be that as it may, that has made another return. And then the other kit that has been released, and this is going to be an NPC boxing, is the Dom Perdome Winds Winder. They're saying it's the first time it's available in 1/25th scale, which technically it is. Ravel's kit, as we mentioned before, was in 1/16th scale. This is basically the Casper, All American, or I can't remember what the heck the kit's called now. It just was in my head and left. But it's that chassis and that body. There are a couple of different pieces about this that were sort of updated a little while ago. The new blower hat and stuff like that. But the decals themselves and the layout, the specific way this is laid out, it is the first time that this kit in this format has been available in 1/25th scale, but it's not a new kit. There are a few new pieces, but not a new kit. And even the new pieces weren't directly developed for this. They were developed for something else, but they're just carrying it over. And then the December releases for round 2 are a couple more Coca-Cola kits, because we don't have enough of those. And I know at this point the Coca-Cola thing has become a running meme at this almost. But I will say that I really don't care about it, in the sense that a lot of people seem to be getting frustrated by the fact that there are all these Coke kits. I look at it this way. There have been a few things that have been released, reissued with the Coke tie-in, vending machines, whatever the case may be, and they're the first time those kits have been released in a long time. There's going to be another semi kit that's going to come out in 2020 that has the Coke tie-in with it. It'll be the first time that kit's been released in like 25 years. So like, Coke it up as much as you want to, if that's the way we have to get things. Nobody's forcing you to use the Coke decals. Nobody's forcing you to build the vending machine and stuff like that. But at any rate, first up, you have the 1953 Ford Victoria. As we mentioned in the monthly recap, this is not an AMT kit. It's actually the Lindbergh tooling from the 1990s Craft House in Toledo era. So it is a very nice kit. These are generally regarded, this kit and the convertible are regarded as being some of the best models that Lindbergh did in the 1990s. Obviously, they did stuff like the 66 Impala, the 66 or 65 or 67. I can't remember which one of the 2 Oldsmobile 442s they did. I think it was the 67, because the 66s were the AMT kits. Yes, I believe. And a few other things. I mean, a lot of people, when they think of 1990s Lindberghs, are stuck thinking of the Ford Crown Victoria police cars and the wildly large amount of old Palmer Pyro and whatnot kits that got released Although a good chunk of those were not actually Craft House era, though that was the J. Lloyd era in the 2000s and the beginning of the end of Lindbergh as we knew it. But be that as it may, this is part of round two sort of marketing scheme, if you will, to get all of those 1990 era kits that are really good out of from underneath that Lindbergh name that pretty much everybody associates at this point with crap. Uh, a lot of that has to do with the Ollie's dump that they did way back 5-6 years ago when the warehouse fire happened to get the funding to do the Dodge Charger police car kits, where all of those horrific old Lindbergh tools, some of them were old Lindbergh tools, your Ford, your not your Ford, but your Dodge uh, drag truck. I would say the Touchstone Terror is what comes into my mind, but that's not the what it was released as. The Little Red Wagon, I guess, is what that was called. Along with the larger Dodge Semi, those are old IMC kits, and then you have the Palmer stuff and the Pyro stuff, and all of that unmentionable stuff. Although the IMC stuff wasn't necessarily terrible, it just really shows its age at this point. A lot of people associate Lindbergh with that stuff. And this sort of will give this sort of, I think, a little bit more fair shake, if you will. Some people will see this, they won't recognize it. They'll see that it's full detail kit and it doesn't look like it's completely and totally crap, and maybe give this another chance. Like I said, it was a really good kit for what it was, and you get a 60s or 50s style vending machine in it as well. So I mean, there's always that. And then the other kit for this month out of round two, or really as for this month, for December, is the release of the 1977 Ford delivery van. This is basically the 77 cruising van reissued just with Coca-Cola decals in it. It also has a 1970s era vending machine and then two little flats of bottles that are molded in what they're calling Coke Green. I'll leave it to you guys who are old enough to remember Coke Green bottles to determine whether or not the clear green they molded it in is anything resembling the correct color. But the kit here is what you should expect it to be. The Ford van has been reissued a couple of times at this point. This has the newly retooled wheels they did for the cruising van on the box art here. They're technically not what I would be prototypically correct van wheels for a low level delivery van, a work van. I think Scenes Unlimited might have something that works a little closer, but you know how much is that? How much of that do you really care about? I guess. Uh, this kit really is the Coke thing, though. I think you're buying this to get the vending machine because there are the other versions of this around, so you don't necessarily need to. Oh my god, I have to buy this because it has blah 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 attached to it. Other than the Coke tie-in, I might consider this just to get the vending machine if I don't buy the C600, which has two of these 70s era vending machines. But anyway, that is out there for your consumption. Moving overseas to Japan, we have just a couple, three things here. We have the wheel sets for Fujimi for the month of December. Make sure they are December. Yes, they are. All right, so you have first up the 17-inch Volk TE37s. These, like all of the wheels, come with tires. They are molded in sort of a primer gray color plastic. So if you want to paint them bronze or gunmetal, whatever, that's a little bit easier in these because they were sort of forged in whatever color you bought them in, or painted, powder coated, I should say, whatever color you bought them in. It does include Volk and Ray's Engineering decals for the wheels and things like that. There's so many TE37 wheel sets out there between Aoshima and Fujimi. It's, you gotta really like some TE37s at this point, is what I'm gonna say. And the other one is are these, and I don't even know what's going on with the box art here. This must be something that Hobby Design did, because I can't believe the box art actually looks like this. But anyway, at any rate, these are 15-inch wheels. They are Advent A3As. They're four luggers, so they're going on some sort of smaller Japanese car, like a 70 Celica or something along those lines. I personally cannot stand the whole three-spoke, especially when it's on a monoblock three-spoke like this. But it is what it is, I guess. Nothing really too much you can do about it. These, again, are molded in sort of a primer gray plastic, so painting them, with a rim that's body color or an offsetting color or whatever you want to do with that, and then painting the wheel lip chrome or stainless steel or whatever, again, is going to require some masking and some finesse and some detailing. They do not come molded in chrome, so you can't just paint the wheel centers. You got to paint the whole wheel. That's sort of been a problem problem, if you will, with these wheel series throughout. But I mean, it is what it is. And I don't want to use that as a verbal crutch because I know I say that a lot of times, but it's sort of those deals of like, if you wanted a set of A3As, I think Fujimi is the only one that made any of them. And I think these are technically connected to the Suzuki Altos as far as their lineage goes. But, if you want a set, that's what they are. And you just sort of kind of got to deal with it. Over at Hasegawa, we have the December straight reissue of this. It is the 1966. I'm using air quotes there because it's really a 65 Chevy Impala. This was one of the first kits that came with the Resin Girl. This is one of my favorite ones because this Resin Girl is possessed by the devil because her shadow is cast backwards. That really hasn't improved over the course of time, if you've noticed. We're going to get the last of the 66s with the Resin Girl figure this month. The Thunderbird is going to get reboxed with one. We'll see how the Resin Girl is sitting and how her shadow is on that. But Resin Girl, all the things. Just a straight reissue. That one's already been done. And then we go over to Aoshima. This was a kit that was supposed to come out last month, then got bumped in December, and then came out at the very beginning of December. So good bump there. Just must have been a shipping delay. Anyway, it is the FD3S RX7 Vertex Ridge. So this kit's just a straight reissue, kit number 9 of the Toon model car. So it's kind of amusing that it was late because it's already something that's been done. They're just putting it back out there. But at any rate, it's out, and that pretty much wraps up November for everybody at this point. So the kits moving forwards at this point should be all December releases. We still have 3 more kits to come out of round 2. Those will probably come out later this month, and we'll see what happens with kits. It's always fun to see how shipping affects the kit releases. Because if you've watched this show we've been doing this for over 5 years now. Just having a discussion with somebody the other day about how long they've been on YouTube, and they were like, "Oh, I've been here for like 4 years." So like, "Oh yeah, me too." And then I went through and I looked at my channel the other day, and actually, no, we started in 2014 in June, so it's actually been 5.5 years at this point. But if you watch this show for any length of time, you sort of get the gist of when to expect stuff. Hasegawa will dump a few things early, most of it comes late. Aoshima may dump a couple of reissues early, most of it comes late. And then you sort of have the 2 release dates for round 2 stuff. They'll throw out some stuff at the beginning of the month, and then their sort of late month releases really don't tend to come out until the next month anyway. So you get a big dump of round 2 kits at the very beginning of the month in terms of release date. And, December, with its shipping woes, as it were, it can sometimes affect when kits are released because we do the kit releases, at least on how these videos work, based on when they come into vendors rather than when they were shipped out the door. So the whole gag, if you will, behind this show, if you're new to the channel and you're just sort of catching on here at the end of this year and you're not 5.5 year supporter, is that when we tell you a kit's available, that means you should be able to buy it pretty much anywhere, unless we were very specific about, oh, this is out in Europe or this is out in Asia only. So it'll be fun to see where things get scattered this month because you obviously, the shipping of things from China to the United States should have already been done for the December releases for people here in the United States who are, molding things overseas and then releasing them here, like round 2 or like a Revell. Salvinos, of course, does their molding out in California, so they're not really affected by that. But even within country, Japan is a busy place, obviously, and so it'll be fun to see if things get delayed into January just because they don't get shipped out. One thing we have coming up for the end of this year is the fact that Japan takes a winter holiday, so they don't have a Christmas. I mean, there's a Western influence to Christmas in Japan, but it's not a holiday the way it is in the United States, obviously. But what they do is after Christmas, the weekend of Christmas, they go on winter break until after the New Year. So basically, you're going to see Japan come to a close on December 27th, and they won't be back until the 3rd. So it's possible that some of those sort of end of the year and end of the month releases that we normally expect will get delayed into January just because, well, everybody's closed. sorry, Japan's closed. Musaw Front should have told you. So anyway, guys, that wraps up this video. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and we will see you guys on the other side.